Our interaction with the RJ process was led by me. Some colleagues thought they might also want to engage in RJ, but the crime was against the company and I'm the owner. The RJ team and I had several meetings. In the end, there were another 3 or 4 meetings with the RJ facilitators, and they had 4 or 5 interactions with Y in prison, including discussions via the prison staff to ensure that she was willing and what she was willing to talk about, as well as making sure I was prepared for the different kind of interaction. We had literally only been working together for 4.5 years and then had 2 HR meetings after the discovery of the thefts, witnessed by HR specialists, and all very formal, and then the court procedures. So we'd had no other direct personal contact, and yet it had been extremely emotional for me. During the unpicking of this, I had got to the point where I was so numb with conflicting emotions that I was tearlessly crying almost every day. You just kind of cried out, but you don't stop crying when you discover the next thing. I did lots of research and tried to prepare myself, read some academic papers and books and so on to understand her psychology and why she did it. But in the end, the RJ facilitators told me I also had to treat the emotional impact of this and try not to be totally in control during the RJ conference, in command, removed, but instead to use the opportunity, if you want, to say how it is. The conference lasted 3 hours. It was very emotionally charged, but I still in the end exercised a degree of restraint because I wanted to get through so much stuff. I wanted to be able to say things to her and hear her response. I knew that she was very fragile, and I felt that I could shut it down if I just flew off the handle at her. Maybe it's just my nature, but there were so many things that I wanted to be able to put to her. Things that we had discovered that were really upsetting, and then there were some other things that she never properly admitted to. I think she'd done so many deceitful things that she wasn't able to face all of them at once in her own head. I felt like I still played a role, and the purpose of that role for me was to get the maximum done in the length of time that was allocated, and what I thought she might be able to speak about without melting down or clamming up. I felt very well prepared. I got most of what I wanted from it. It was long, and we sort of hung in there and kept on talking. In a way, the thing I hoped to get from it was, well, why on earth did you do this to us? I didn't really get to that because I feel that she can only face a certain quantity of what's happened. I'm quite alert to her deflecting and managing the admissions because of what happened in our HR meetings before. You need to be conscious of the fact that it might just be another very plausible story. I couldn't just be myself, cursing and swearing and saying, I can see what you've done, and throw a load of shit at her because it wouldn't be productive. I'd been her employer. I hadn't been her friend outside of work, but I trusted her completely with doing the job that she was there to do. I probably went up to what I sense was the boundary of when it was going to be productive. You might think it would have been productive to hurl this thing at her, but I don't think it is. Unfortunately, my friends, family and partner have had to go along on this nasty ride with me, and they've been hugely supportive, as well as our clients and contractors. We were strong anyway, but my God, did it show us just how strong we were. So it taught me a lot. I was emotional, and we got through a lot of boxes of tissues between us, but not in terms of hurling insults or abuse at her. I felt justice was done. It was as simple as that. The good thing about going to restorative justice when I did was that, yes, I felt deeply hurt, but I felt that the justice process had worked. I felt that any custodial sentence over 6 months was going to feel like real prison for her. All in all, I guess you could say that I went to the conference feeling quite balanced in myself, that at least what had happened was fair and just. So I didn't have any bad feelings around that, which I think was a very good thing, as it would have poisoned the process of having that time with her. So it could just be focused on what the hell was going on during that time. We went back to the beginning and went through it year by year, act by act, that I discovered she had been doing. The great thing was that the RJ facilitators had laid out all the groundwork before the conference, so we only had to guide the conversation at times. It was great that they were there, but it was essentially me and Y talking. Everything kind of seeded naturally. You have your opening personal chance to speak, and then it just went on. When I was speaking, I said what I had to say, and then it went naturally into my first question. Then we went out for 2.5 hours, and we went on for 2.5 hours until the prison officers came in and said, okay, it's time now. At that point, I was sat on the coffee table holding her hand, and so it felt totally wrong for it to end so abruptly. But that was their job, so they took her out because the time had elapsed, and they took her into an adjacent room. Myself and the RJ facilitators felt that it wasn't the right way for it to end, that Y and I should get a chance to say goodbye. They went in and negotiated with the officers for a little more time, so they brought Y back in, so we embraced, and then she went. I feel we have a pretty amazing system. Of course it has its flaws, but the RJ process for me was amazing. I was endlessly grateful for the commitment shown by the people involved.